Hi everyone, I'm Ferd and welcome to my video. This is actually the second part of this Kawasaki engine that I'm putting together that was locked up. I'll show you a link in the video below where you can go see what caused it to lock up and how I got it unstuck. In this video, you're going to see two different times that I've rebuilt this engine. The first time I did it, one of the head gaskets blew and it was dumping antifreeze in one of the cylinders. And the reason why is because I used an aftermarket engine gasket kit on it. And learned from my mistake of being cheap, trying to save somebody some money, and in the long run ended up costing me the labor of having to take this thing apart again and rebuild it for a second time. I've learned from my mistakes. I've bought all OEM Kawasaki parts for it, which I highly recommend that you do. Believe me, there's a big difference between them. In the first video, I unstuck the crankshaft, installed a new bearing on top of the cylinder block, cleaned the crankshaft and got it polished back up. We've got it installed and we're ready to put the rest of the internal parts in. This is an older engine from around 2010 and it only has 135 hours on it. The rings and pistons and everything else inside are in perfect shape, so I'm not going to be doing anything to them other than installing them back into the engine. Your number one piston is usually the closest one to the flywheel. I numbered them before I took it out, and then I numbered my pistons on the top 1 and 2. These pistons didn't need anything done to them. I checked the ring gap. It's perfect. They're clean. They're in really good shape. I just cleaned them up, and I'm going to put them right back in the way that they came out. There's an arrow on the top. You always want to make sure the arrow is pointing to the flywheel. Your 1 and 2 o'clock positions are going to be on that end also at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and then your oil rings will be scattered out down here around the bottom. I'm going to get my cap off of the bottom of it. Put some assembly lube here. I've already got it on the crankshaft. Get the rest off of my finger and put it on here. And I'm going to put some oil in between those rings. Okay, I'll get them clocked and get this piston put in there. You want to make sure you turn this where your crankshaft is all the way down towards the bottom. I'm going to try to push these in with my fingers and get it down in there. Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. So let's see how this goes. There goes the oil ring. I'm down to my next one. Okay, that one's in. Down to the last. And the piston's in there. Go ahead, run that down. Bring my crankshaft up to it. Put the rod cap on. I went to Kawasaki website and downloaded the service data sheet for this engine I'm working on. It's the FD590. You can see it right there. And I'm going to scroll down to see what the specs are for the connecting rod. They're going to be right here. And it's showing that it's 12 newton meters. Now, I kind of had to scratch my head on that a little bit because that's not very tight at all for a connecting rod. A rule of thumb that I've kind of used along with my gut feelings is that the crankcase cover, which is right over here 2 places over from it, usually has the same torque as the connecting rod, as well as the head. That's almost double of what they're saying this connecting rod is. Now, I think that's either a typo or a bad mistake, and I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night if I used that torque spec on it. So I went with my gut. That's dead wrong, and I torqued these connecting rods at 21 Newton meters. Your connecting rod bolts should be torqued at 21 Newton meters. We did that. Everything in here is on and ready to go. We're ready to put our sump cover on it. These 2 holes here are water ports for the cooling system. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little bit of the Permatex, the number 2, and I'm going to put that right around these water ports. I'm going to do that on here, and I'm also going to put it on the sump cover as well. Just need it around these 2 little water jackets right here. The rest of it's going to be okay. Got an O-ring. Goes right here. We're going to put our cam and lifters back in it. And my fingers won't fit down in there, so I'm just going to use these needle nose pliers to get them up in there. Just dip those down in some oil. The camshaft, I got it really globbed on there real good all the way around. And we're going to line up our 2 dots. Make sure that you've got your governor shaft in there. I've got some grease on that too. And we're in time and ready to put the gasket and the cover on it. This is our new gasket. Now, compared to that first one that we put on there, the material is completely different. This one is more like a fiber type gasket, to where that replacement gasket was real thin plastic graphite gasket. On the sump cover, I have the Permatex on this side where the water jackets are. Make sure you got your guide pins in. We're going to turn it upside down. And let it slide down on the shaft until it comes to a stop right there at that seal. Now this one looks like it may have went over it, but I want to make sure that it didn't flip. And it doesn't look like that it did, and it fell right down on there. And we'll turn the crankshaft, line all those gears up, and then it should fall down on there a little bit further. Here we go. We got her installed. Okay, before we put any bolts in it, up here on this side of the sump is where your water pump's going to go. We're going to do the same thing here that we did underneath with the water ports, and put some Permatex right around where it's going to come up into the water pump. Buy a new water pump and the gaskets that come with it. If you go with an aftermarket, make sure it has the same gasket material as what you used on the sub pump cover. If it has one of those graphite gaskets with it, send it back, or make your own gaskets because they'll leak. One of my gaskets is going to go right here. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to put some Permatex on this as I keep going up. Wherever there's going to be water, that's where I'm going to put my Permatex. It may seem a bit overkill, but trust me, if it leaks, you don't want to have to lift this motor back up out of there, because that's what you have to do to change it or to fix the problem. Okay, I got the Permatex on there. Getting oil all over the place. And See if we can set her down on there, and there it goes. And then I'm going to Permatex this entire outside of the top of the pump. This is the last piece, then I'm going to do the same thing to this. And we could put our second gasket on there. Set this down on there. And start putting all of our bolts in. You've got 4 different sizes here. You got a really long one that's going to go right here. And then you got another long one that's going to go here. And then the 3 shorter ones go here, here, and over here. There's one in the middle. This is going to be one of the pan bolts. It's a real long one, the only one out of all of them that goes right down through the center of it. The rest of your bolts are all the same size. Nothing special about any of them. Just go around and put them all in. These little water pump ones are a number 10. I'll go ahead and just kind of snug those down a little bit, just to where they touch. And then I'm going to switch over to my number 12 and go ahead and run these down until they touch. You can do the crisscross pattern. Just go back and forth, start from the inside, work your way out. Now we can torque them down. I'm going to do this in 3 increments. We'll start out at 10 Newton meters, come back at 15, and then finish it up at 21. These are number 12. I'm going to switch this one out, put it in my number 10, and then torque these at 10 Newton meters as well. I'm going to step it up to 15. Keep losing track of where I'm at. Okay. And I'm going to back it back down to 12. Put my number 10 on there. And that'll be the final torque for these small ones. Now I'm going back up to 21. And this will be my final torque on these. Okay, these springs don't have that much tension to them to where you can't just push them down with your fingers and get them out. So we're going to tap it one time with a pair of pliers or a hammer or whatever to kind of bust it loose. And push down on it. Your keepers will fall out of it. You take the keepers off of it, and the spring will come off. You can push the valve right out of it.
I prepped my heads before installing them back onto the engine. I lapped the valves, cleaned them, and installed new seals. Tension on the springs are fairly light. I placed a rag under the head to hold the valve shut while I used my thumbs to uninstall and reinstall the springs. The springs are held in place by a two-piece cone-shaped insert on the top. Although it took me a few attempts, it is fairly easy to reinstall these springs without a spring compressor. After you get them installed, use a hammer or abuse a pair of pliers like I did and give a few taps to seat the clips into place.
All right, I got some new guide pins to put in here, and I had a heck of a time getting those old ones out. And if you look for the part number off the parts diagram for this, you're not going to find them. I looked up a 10 by 14 millimeter dowel pin, and here's the part number, 92043-1037. And that is the size that's going to fit this block right here. And it's actually a genuine Kawasaki part too. So they're not very good at updating their parts on the ones that they like to discontinue. But I want to drive these down into the head. Seems kind of backwards the way that I'm going to do this, but I want to make sure that I get them down there far enough to where they're actually going to seat in here and still hold the gasket. So I've got those tapped in there. They went in a lot better than I thought. And I've got a genuine Kawasaki head gasket amongst all the other Kawasaki parts that I bought. And I could tell right off the bat that this one is thicker and just feels a lot nicer than that aftermarket one that I bought and put on here. So I've got that on there. I'm not going to use any kind of sealant at all on that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this thing on there like that. Feels good. We'll go ahead and start a few bolts in it so my gasket doesn't move. We can go ahead and start torquing it down.
The torque specs for the head bolts are 21 Newton meters. Again, because this is a water-cooled engine, I wasn't comfortable with that torque spec, so I bumped it up to 25 Newton meters. This would be the equivalent of 15 to 18 foot-pounds. If you do this, don't go any higher. I wanted to ensure that this head gasket would seal and not blow again. Torque them down in 3 different steps, starting at 10 Newton meters, go to 15 Newton meters, and then to your final torque.
I'm going to install the intake manifold. Across the top of this, there's a port for antifreeze. Comes out here and here and just goes straight across it. I had to make my own gaskets. These are unavailable. For this one, you'll see gaskets like this, identical to it, but they're bigger. They're for the newer versions with 2-barrel carburetors. What I'm going to do here, because there's water going through it, I know a lot of people don't like putting Permatex or sealant on intake manifolds, but here you've got a unique situation. I'm going to put Permatex around the water port, and just like that. And I'm going to do it on the head as well. Put some around here. Okay, we're ready to install it. You got 8 bolts. 3 of them are long, and then 5 of them are just short ones just like this. And you'll be able to see on your intake when you put it on where these are going to go. So I'm going to put these through the top like that. And I'm going to go ahead and get my gaskets. And we'll go ahead and get just those started, just a couple of turns here. Just enough to hold it up in the air. And then we can run them down, and the torque on these is 7.8 Newton meters. So let me get these ran down, and then I'll come back and we'll torque them. I'm at 7 Newton meters. We'll start with these back ones.
The final torque for the intake manifold is 8 Newton meters. With the exception of installing the push rods and adjusting the lifters, this long block is finished. There's still a lot to do to get the engine running. Things like the carburetor, governor, starter, muffler, the radiator, and installing it back on the tractor. We'll have to cover all that later. Skipping all that, let's start it, run it, and send it back home.
If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some good information out of it. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button on the way out and join the channel. Got a lot of videos up there, got a lot more coming. Ring that notification bell. You'll get notified as soon as I put them up there. Remember to stay safe in the shop, wear your safety gear, eyeglasses, and have fun. Thanks for watching.